This is Roundtable 1 with Wilson, Mary, and Blue. Here we go. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started today, we just ask that you please mute your device until you're called upon to ask a question. And on this first round of questions, if you wouldn't mind just saying your name and outlet so that Mary, Wilson, and Blue know who they're speaking to. And we'll get started with Camilla, please.
Hi there, my name is Camila Dominguez and I'm with Bam Smack Pow. Thank you for being here with us today. Huge fan of all three of you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mary. So throughout Star Trek Discovery, Tilly has shown significant growth, both professionally and personally. I myself wrote a huge editorial on how she is like the best Star Trek character ever written in history, in recent history in the franchise. And as we approach this final season, how can you share some aspects of her evolution that you found the most rewarding to portray?
Yeah, thank you. And cool article, gotta read it. I think like what was interesting to me was like when I first encountered this character, this was like a very achievement driven girl who didn't have a lot of social graces, but like knew that she needed to achieve. And there was kind of this like big reversal for her as time went on, where actually what I think she began to realize who she really is somebody who cares most about relationships and the community that she builds, and who actually like wanting to be a captain, wanting to achieve all of these things was a relic of a person that didn't really have anything to do with her anymore, that had to do with like maybe not such a great relationship with her parent. But after losing so much and after, leaving one version of a timeline, leaving all those people behind, had a chance to kind of like change her mind and reevaluate who she was in terms of what was going to make her happy. And that has led her to kind of becoming a teacher at Starfleet Academy. And I think she gets enormous value from being there, being somebody who's present and available for young people who are still developing. That for me is like the chart of her arc. And I found that very satisfying to play and like kind of a cool message.
For sure. I relate to her like on a deep personal level, and I absolutely love how you bring her to life. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks for saying that. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Tony, go ahead.
Yes, really for all of you, kind of give us where your characters are at mentally and what's going on in their lives as the season starts. Starting with Wilson.
Hi.
Hi.
I think there's been a few months have passed when we re-meet our heroes at the opening of season 5, and I feel like as you look around that everyone is in a much more stable place in terms of how they feel about themselves and their place on the ship and in this new future. I mean, we've definitely gotten the kinks out of being 900 years away from everything and everyone we love. So when this mystery finds us, we are well suited and well prepared to take on this task. So in terms of Hugh, I think that means that he continues to ask these existential questions, these big life questions. And as a man of science, it's always more comfortable when there's a yes or no to these questions. And really, his journey this season is about finding grace in the unknown, in the questions that are incapable of being answered, and what that means for him in the way that he views his life.
Avery, go ahead.
For Tilly,
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. Did you?
No, you go
Please.
ahead. I apologize. You guys go ahead.
Tilly comes back to Star Trek Discovery, and is trying to figure out how to get through to her students who have become isolated from growing up during the burn. and just trying to figure that out, how to help him with that.
And Adira is in a much more confident state, I think, with their position on the ship than we have ever seen them. And they're taking on more responsibilities. They're being given more things to do, and kind of being pushed a bit more in a way that I think they wanted to be pushed. And on the side, dealing with some personal issues and just some emotional stuff. I think that they do a lot of self-reflection at the start of the season.
Thank you all.
Avery, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Avery Kaplan from Comics Beat. My question's for Blue. I'm curious if you've had any especially memorable interactions with Trekkies since coming onto the show.
Oh gosh, yes. I like, first of all, the best possible interactions, because the fans of our show and Trek fans in general are just like the best people in the world and are so kind and caring and compassionate. The best experiences that I've had are something that I did not expect to happen, but because I would get messages from other trans people, which is amazing. What I was not really anticipating was getting messages from parents of trans kids who would watch the show and say that it was helping them to better understand their kid or have more transparent interactions with their kid or with their family member. And that to me means more than anything else I've ever heard has meant. It's just not something I ever expected, especially struggling with my own parents as a kid and still now a little bit. That's crazy to me, that I had some small part in that and that it could have that kind of effect. But yeah, that's definitely the most meaningful to me.
Thank you so much.
Ashley, to you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Thomas with fangirlish.com. My question is for Wilson. One of the things I admire the most about Dr. Culber is his empathy. Last season, we saw him struggling with the emotional burden of counseling. I was wondering if you could tell us a little more about what it was like to play that emotional struggle.
Harder than I anticipated. First of all, thank you. But it was as an actor, it was harder to play than I had anticipated it to be, mainly because we were shooting that season during the COVID year and we were in Toronto and everything was literally shut down and there was a lot of, a lot of questions out there and, it was a moment of high anxiety and I personally was feeling a lot of it myself. So then to be asked to come play a scene in which my character himself is dealing with that anxiety was a challenge because, I was anxious about playing anxious. So, but luckily that episode was actually was directed by Lee Rose, who I have a close relationship with. She's a friend of mine and I had complete and utter trust in her. So, I also know from working with her through the years that if I'm not getting it, she's the first person to come up to me and be like, that it's not it, let's try something else. And she was so happy with what was coming across that I was okay. But, I think that scene really resonated with a lot of people when it first streamed because there were a lot of people in that moment in time who were trying to take care of not only themselves, but trying to take care of everyone around them, their children, their coworkers, their community, their neighbors. And when you are overwhelmed with that much responsibility, when you're someone as empathetic as Dr. Culber can be and is, you forget that you need an outlet, that you need to be taken care of as well, that there needs to be a moment of silence, of meditation, where you center yourself so that you're capable of showing up for people in a way that you can be helpful, as opposed to bringing your own anxiety and your own issues to bear when people are needing your help. So it was a great moment to teach self-care and self-compassion when you're a caregiver, something that we need to always remember.
Karen, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Karen from Sci-fi-vision. Blu, you spoke about Adira's increasing competence and confidence as a member of the crew. I see that, and then every now and then something happens that I think, oh, this person is just a kid still. That time was not so very long ago for you. But, you know, can you talk a little bit about reaching back and playing these kind of dual roles and reminding us that Adira is a young person?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I don't know what it is about me, but I have never felt my age. I feel like I got like stuck at like 16, 17, and I have never felt older than that. I am now 26.
No.
Yeah. I started the show and I was, 21, 22?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And I still feel I think I just feel very connected to my like inner kid, and my dad is the same way. So there was something really nice about being able to go back to that age and think about it so often and try to reference it so often. Because I still feel very connected to it. And I love that. But yeah, they are still very much a kid, even in season 5. Like, they were very young when they got on the ship, and they're still very young. Still taking on, I think, probably more responsibilities than they should, and putting way too much pressure on themselves. But I think a lot of us do that when we're that age as well. Yeah.
Well, I love what they are going through in these first few episodes. I'm looking forward to seeing all of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony, go ahead.
So this season introduces Callum Keith Rennie to the cast as Raynor. Can you guys talk about like what he brought to the set and his scenes? Because, you know, as watching what I'm seeing, I'm getting some, you know, the Lorca, Jason Isaacs flashback vibes. I'm wondering if you guys felt that on set, and, you know, what he and Raynor brought to the season.
I think Raynor brings some much needed grumpiness and curmudgeonliness. A lot of us are very like starry-eyed optimists, and it's nice to have just an old battle axe. So that creates just like really fun dynamics between that character and the rest of the crew who are used to working together, who run like a clock. And now there's this person who's highly competent, but has a very different conversation style, problem-solving approach. And Callum is a great actor and really fun to work with, and an absolute maniac. And so that was really fun. This was like great new guy to bring into the fold, and I think people will really enjoy his character and the dynamics it brings out of everyone.
Yeah, he was so much fun to work with. Aside from his funky ears that he brought to set every day, I think what was fun to watch is how this character has to fit themselves into a new power structure, right? This is, you know, the way that Burnham runs that ship is unlike the way that most ships are run. It's a soft power. I hate that word, but it's the best way to describe it. You know, how does someone who has a bit of an aggressive, combative style of leadership fit themselves into a power structure in which you know, there's less power coming from above and more of a center out power structure. So it was fun to watch that character navigate this new power structure they find themselves in.
Aaron, go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Aaron from TrekCore.com. Now that the show is over, at least from your roles from performing, what do you see looking back on it that you might have learned the most about yourself or about your acting craft during your time on Discovery?
Well, I'll go first.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, I think what I learned most about myself is, or what I felt like I was reminded of by playing Hugh is that at any given moment, on any given day, we can all decide that we want to do something differently, that we deserve more from our lives, and that we are capable of making those changes and choices at any given moment. And that, you know, if things aren't working the way that you're supposed to, or that you think that they're supposed to, that you can decide in that moment that you want something differently, and change it. That second chances are real, that you can give them to yourself even. And as an actor, I feel, you know, this was the first time ever that I've been given the privilege, really, of seeing a character throughout 5 seasons. You know, I was one-hit wonders from here on, you know, before this. And it was really gratifying to see him grow and to see his change from season to season. And I knew where I wanted him to end up when it was all over. And despite the fact that we didn't know this was going to be our last season, I'm so gratified by the fact that who I envisioned him to be at the end of the series really shows up here at the end of season 5.